Oh, I need to be the host with the mostest, the hostess, the hoster with the moster. I don't know. The power is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Improperly Packaged, a show where we unbox topics related to movies, TV, games, maybe chicken sandwiches, I don't know, whatever. I am Jordan. With me is Luke. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing well, and truer words have never been spoken.
Yeah, it's a important aspect of the show, I believe.
Yeah.
I felt like I should include it in that time.
Whenever one is not speaking of chicken sandwiches, one is wasting one's time. I think Confucius may have said that at one point.
Yeah, I believe.
I don't
in
know.
that,
He
but
probably didn't have the quality chicken that we have surrounding us nowadays.
not as much. I mean, chicken sandwiches have become quite an art form, I think, in today's society. We live in a society
Indeed.
where chicken sandwiches.
In a chicken society. Society of chickens who consume chicken.
I think like when I was a young child, I went through a chicken sandwich phase myself. Like I was like, chicken sandwiches are the truth. There is nothing better than a spicy, mind you, chicken sandwich. I've changed.
It is good.
I've changed. I had way too many stomach aches as a child, and I was like, I don't know what the problem is. I don't understand. Why does my stomach hurt all the time? And I was like, oh, I eat chicken sandwiches, spicy chicken sandwiches all the time. That might have something to do with it.
You've got some stories about some silly eating things, Jordan, when you were young.
Yeah.
You've told me some things, man. I've been through it.
Yeah, I've got a
Done
lot
some
in the tank.
stuff.
I've seen some things. I believe you've eaten a new chicken sandwich, Luke.
Yes, I have. I tried your recommendation, the Zaxby's. Actually, I had two. I think that was a mistake. Those are some girthy sandwiches.
They're big, man.
Yeah.
Those are like really big ones. Those like on the bigger side.
Compared to the other ones especially. It's it's pretty big. But yeah, really good. I don't know if it would take my top spot, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah.
Definitely top 5.
One of the better
ones.
It's
really good. I think I still like Max for some reason better. I do like the crispiness of Zaxby's. We're not going to get into this. I'm not going to talk about this again.
Why?
This
Luke?
is a waste of time. No.
I disagree, but okay, it's fine. It's fine.
CJ, what have you started?
I still need to try Max. I'll go to Max, I swear. Are they open Saturdays?
No. They have very limited hours. I think they close at like 4. They're open from like 12 or 11 to 4. It's like weird.
It's like they're specifically designed for me not to be able to go. Yeah. It's so
there's no
strange.
breakfast, so they open a little later, like early lunch, and then they close like before 5. I think it's like, and they're cash only. So it's like,
oh my god,
you get over there one day and you're like, oh, I don't have cash.
I'm finally ready. I'm here at the right time, and I don't have any cash.
We don't take that plastic, son.
Apple Pay? Okay, no.
I wish.
In your dreams. Anywho, yeah. I find it weird when things have strange hours. Like trying to find like an apartment and trying to go and like talk to the people and see the place. It's like impossible because they're always like they're not closed like a second beyond 5, which is like okay, you want people who have
open.
Yeah. You want people who have like jobs that are able to pay your rent, but you're not open on weekends or like a time during the week where a working person can go. It's very strange.
There's so many stores like that where it's like I understand it because those people are working too, so they don't want to have to work after that. But then the people who are working don't get to go to your store, so it's like this, it's this chicken and egg kind of thing. Yeah. It's like, should they work later so I can go into their store, or should I? No, I guess should I work less so I can go in? It's like, just nobody's winning in that scenario. But
in like places like you're talking about, like Mac and like obviously in our local joint Tinker, and they're like open for like a few hours. I'm wondering like what it's like to work there. It's like, is it like it's like engineered to only be like to be like not your primary job. If you're only going to work like, you're not going to work weekends. You're open 4 hours a day. And
Yeah.
so it's like, how much could you work? I mean, 20 hours
Yeah.
obviously is how much you can work, but 5 times
Yeah.
4. But
I do wonder. That's true, because you're not getting like 8 hours or anything. So yeah, it's like it's a little more than a part-time job, but it's definitely not a full-time job. It's
very strange.
Are we still talking about this?
Yeah. What have you been watching / playing / listening to, Luke? I believe it's your week.
Okay. Mr. Ben Howard. He's a good artist that I've followed here for quite a while. There's a few songs that I think maybe most people would recognize when they hear him. I don't know. He's not like a big name, but he came out with a new album called Collections from the Whiteout, and I've listened to maybe half the songs now. It's kind of strange. There's this thing where he like has it set up on the streaming where it's a single disc and then a second disc, but the second disc only has 2 songs on it. So like, I guess it's because that's how he has it set up on the album, but it's kind of strange that it's almost like a throwback to an older day when we would be burning albums, and it's like, oh, I reached that 800 meg limit or 900 megs, whatever it was. And so I just really want these other 2 songs. But I feel like even when that happened, I would be like, well, I'm burning an entire CD anyways, so might as well fill it up with some other garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll make these songs that I want on it the first 2. Also, side note, while we're talking about burning, I saw something on Instagram that was like, can somebody tell me what burning a CD is? Like,
oh my God.
Is it with fire? And I was thinking, that's probably actually a reality for a lot of people. I don't know, maybe 20 or younger now at this point.
When was the last time you burned a CD?
If you were born in 2001, you'd be 20, right?
Yeah.
And so probably by the time you were actually like thinking about that kind of thing, you were maybe 7 or 8. So we're talking like 2007, 2008. Yeah. And that was right about the end of like the CD burning era. I think it was right around like when you and I went into college. It was like iPod was definitely, iPod came out in 2003. By 2007, iPod was like huge. And then the iPhone came out then. Of course, like the iPod was still the big thing. So yeah, I feel like, man, like that's crazy that somebody could be 20 and not like have any idea about that anymore. And
I mean, yeah,
such a big part of our like childhood and growing up years. And
I feel like we lived in a very specific time, which was like the advent of internet and like
between technologies.
And like now there's been like 20 years of it just getting better and better and better. But like all the things that like were there at the beginning are obsolete as can be. But yeah, burning CDs, definitely something I haven't done. And I actually no longer have the ability to do. Like I can't do it. Like my piece.
No, reading CDs is a hard thing to do now.
Yeah, my car.
There was another podcast I was listening to where he was saying like, I have some audio albums. I wanted to listen to them, and I realized I have nothing that plays them because apparently the new consoles don't even play CDs.
Oh, really?
That's what he said. I haven't tried it, but apparently they didn't pay for like the little rights to like play CDs. Like, what?
How much could that possibly
I don't think I would have any reason to do that, but I guess if you're doing the math and it's like no one's ever going to use this, let's just save the money. Anyways, that was a very long aside to say that, yeah, the Collections from the Whiteout from Ben Howard is a cool album, so check it out.
What's it called again?
Collections from the Whiteout.
Collections from the Whiteout.
I'm guessing that's a reference to the pandemic, quarantine. I don't know. Who's to say what one man means by something?
Who indeed, Luke? Let me like a song here. Okay, so in what I've decided, in lieu of not, if there's a week where I'm not listening to any new artists or anything like that, I will recommend a podcast during the listening to section if I'm. And so this is a smaller show that I've liked throughout the years and I pop back to. It's kind of this podcast is spawned off of a YouTube channel called Geek Evolution. It's a smaller YouTube channel where it's just a bunch of guys talking shop on comic book stuff. And And yeah, they have they have one show called Superhero Rewind, and they turned that show into a podcast. Where this is not a very conventional podcast. It's not a guy having like an off the cuff discussion. This is very, very much like a written analytic discussion about. He does like one superhero movie at a time, and he'll like analyze it, and it's like written out review, and it's really good. I think he's really good. He has some really great insight to some of these, and he's a good writer, and he's good at like narrating his stuff. It doesn't even feel like narration. He's really good. So I recommend it. Superhero
He breaks
Rewind.
it all down by himself.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. That's crazy.
He obviously writes it. He like writes his critical analysis of it, and he just like, yeah, so most of them are like 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half long. So they're long and like, but I think he's good. Like he's really good at what he does. So I recommend his stuff.
Cool.
Check it out.
Neato.
We've been watching / playing, man.
I just have two things. So I finally got around to watching Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I'm caught up. I believe. Are they a Friday thing?
Friday
right?
thing, yeah. It seems to be the thing for whatever big show they have. It's reserved for Fridays. I think a lot of I think whatever they have new that drops, it's going to drop on a Friday, like writ large, like everything that Disney Plus does.
That's one way of doing it. I'm interested why they didn't pick like multiple days till it'd be like, Falcon drops on Tuesday and this other thing drops on a Friday or something like that.
I agree. I think it's strange too. I don't know why they do it like that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good show. It's interesting. I think with any of these kind of shows, especially when Marvel's obviously going in a new direction with a lot of their properties because of, I don't know. I was going to say because of the restraints of the quarantine, but I don't know if that would be fair to say. I mean, this was obviously planned out a long time ago before, before quarantine even happened. So, excuse me. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, they're definitely going in a smaller direction, much more detailed direction where they're fleshing out a lot of things about characters that aren't able to be addressed in a large movie where you're trying to move fast, get story out and try to progress the universe in whatever the next big direction is. In the case before, it was Thanos and his major plan and the stones. And so now it's interesting because you're obviously in this place where you're writing stories about almost not really post-apocalyptic, but kind of this strange, like in between post-apocalyptic, like the world's still fine, but it's also not fine. It's still hurting and healing. And, whether it's what Wanda was going through or what Falcon's obviously going through and the Winter Soldier. And it's a very interesting world to be living in, living in through the watching. But it's also fun. I mean, nothing, I think it's hard to say, but nothing it feels like will ever be the way it was before, where it's just build and build and build and build.
Mm-hmm.
It's like no other universe before, and I don't think it ever will be like it was before, Endgame. It was a masterpiece it was just incredible how each movie, like from the beginning at Iron Man to Endgame, they really did kind of get bigger and bigger. I mean, there were some stumbles along the way, and we each have our own opinion on whether or not those were good movies or terrible movies. I mean, we all kind of differ. We agree on some things and we differ on other things. Our group of friends. I mean,
yeah.
But it did feel like, even if there was a movie you didn't like as much, it did kind of step it up each time, and especially with the Avenger movies themselves. There's more collaboration and more characters got to do more things, and so it's amazing what they did there, and then it's certainly interesting coming to this place where you really feel a step back. I mean, these are almost slice of life kind of things.
Yeah, in a way, yeah, I agree.
At least in some episodes, or at least in some parts of episodes, you're almost not seeing any action. I mean, you have just people sitting down having conversations, like not like between action scenes, like things in Avengers where you're eating shawarma or something. Like
Yeah.
much more like carried out and like actually important to like trying to understand why what's happening in the story matters to a character, because you understand how they're feeling emotionally and how, yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
I can see people not liking this, and I can see people really enjoying this. I can see both sides of that. It's there's probably a lot of fans of Marvel who wanted a more in-depth look at each character, and they wanted more of an in-depth look at these smaller characters like Falcon that didn't really get that much screen time. I mean, he had some quality time, I would say, in the Avengers movies, and he played a nice role in Captain
Hmm.
America. But we don't really know who Falcon and Winter Soldier are, so
Yeah.
we are certainly, it seems like, going to know them very well by the end of this show. And yeah, it's just interesting. I think the biggest takeaway I have is just how interesting it is how small this show feels. There's this like global plot going on. We're obviously, I don't want to get into any details.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
plenty of people who may listen to the show and they're not caught up. Go ahead and get caught up. Jordan and I will kind of do a recap at the end of the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting how small the show feels, but I'm enjoying it. I have yet to say that how small it feels is a negative, but I also won't jump to say it's a positive. It's somewhere in between. It's kind of like WandaVision. It's like, I'll see how I feel by the end of the show.
Yeah.
I can't definitively say yet what I think.
That's the thing with the show, it's like I could end up liking something in WandaVision and at the end be like, well, maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought, seeing how it ended and what it amounted to. So yeah, I mean that could
Yeah.
be true depending on how it paces out to the end of Winter Soldier. But yeah, I agree, very small. It's like you like see scenes where you're like, wow, I don't think we've seen a scene like this in the MCU that's so like kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
you'd see scenes where like someone's visiting a character and they have a conversation and it's just a conversation, but like they're quick. And so but in this
Yeah.
show they'll be like, let's linger on this conversation. And I appreciate that. But again, yeah, I'm interested to see what it amounts to. It seems like there's one big action scene an episode from what it seems so far. I'm sure that'll change by the time the show's over and like when we get toward the climax, but right now it seems like we're getting a big action scene once an episode. At least that's true for the first two.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
And then like some small things in between, but most of it's just like conversational drama. Honestly, that's most of the show so far.
Yeah, indeed.
So, my second thing is a video by a man named Anton Somewhere on YouTube. It's called Black Rock City, the most unusual town on Earth. So this was one that the YouTube algorithm just surfaced for me last night, and
There you go.
I clicked it on a whim. I get into a lot of different things on YouTube just to try to educate myself on just all kinds of stuff. There's some amazing stuff on YouTube. It's insane. I mean, I wouldn't say it's really YouTube that it is. I hate that fact. It's like I don't feel like YouTube should be given credit. It's really just the amazing people that are on YouTube, because it's just YouTube is the platform that it happened to be on. So I don't want to give Google credit. Like I think Google gets credit for too much crap. It's just amazing creators, and these people, if they're mistreated, which I feel like a lot of these like platforms like Apple and YouTube, a lot of people are complaining right now about how they're not getting enough money, and they're just so yeah. I don't know. I don't know why I just went on that little rant, but yeah, I've been frustrated with the fact that like there's these amazing people like this guy I'm going to talk about, Anton, who, and we've talked about cooking videos, and I've actually gotten this other guy I've been watching on cooking videos, and they're just amazing. And it's a shame that these big corporations like don't give them even more like compensation for their amazing work. And this video is a great example of a creator who just is naturally talented in editing, and he just has good story flow throughout his video. And it's far from perfect, but it's a great representation of what Burning Man is. Like you feel like you've lived there for the entire week of Burning Man. And so that's what this video is all about. Black Rock City, that's the name of the city that is created in this like couple days right before leading up to the week of Burning Man. And there's 70,000 people that live there. They have streets, they have their own zip code, they have a landline, they have a fire department, they have police, they have supermarket, they have bathrooms, like they have, it's insane. I mean, you have to watch the video. It's, the guy says it several times, like you just can't take it all in a full week. You just don't have enough time between the incredible art installations that are out there, to the amazing DJs that play at night, to just all the like parties that go on, to all the crazy cars that people come up with. Like
Wow.
they invent these insane things, and then the like crazy like sheltered houses that people have. And yeah, it's an amazing thing. It's just incredible. You just have to watch the video to see the whole thing. There's so much about this that is so unlike anything else in life that it makes it just a complete spectacle in every way. Like every facet of what happens is a spectacle, because
Wow.
they're dealing with no cell phone signal. There's no electricity. So like everything that's brought in is brought in by people, and it's
Dang.
shared together with the whole community that is Black Rock City. And yeah, I really recommend you watch this. This is unlike something like Coachella or, you know, some other music festival. Like it's not that at all. It's not a music festival at all. There's music that goes on, and a lot of it.
Mhm.
And you know, I I don't know if I agree with everything they do. It's a little weird, but there's also some amazing things that happen, just like experiments and like social behavior that happen at
Huh.
this. I don't even know what to call it. It's not really even a festival. It's just a event. It's just,
It's like outgrown whatever it started as,
oh
and
yeah.
is like
It's
just all sorts of things, it looks like.
yeah, it's not even, it's like some people might feel like it's a cult, and in ways it is. It's like it has a cult following, and there's people that act like cultists that follow it, but it's not really that. And like I said, it's not really a festival, but it is at the same time. It's not really a party, but it is, because
Yeah.
there's like there's elements of it that aren't party like at all. There's a installation that comes every year that is like a place for people to like bring their like items from their dead relatives and like say goodbye to them at this
Hmm.
event at Burning Man, and then they burn that like ceremoniously in silence. So it's like there's so much more elements to Burning Man that I had no idea until I watched this video. And yeah, I can't recommend it enough. It's just, whether or not you're interested in Burning Man at all, it's just incredibly interesting to watch this, to just understand what goes on out there. And yeah, it's just very interesting. They build this, one little interesting fact is, so it's out in this huge desert
Mhm.
in Utah or Nevada.
Nevada.
And yeah, they build this trash fence, and it's like 100 miles long or
Oh my
something.
god.
It may not be that long, but it's incredibly long. Like they set it well away from it,
Uh-huh.
so that if any trash makes its way out of the community, like it gets hit by this fence, so they're able to clean it up. They're incredibly like strict on no trace out there. Like you can't even dump your water out if you have like
Hmm.
just a little bit extra water, or you pee in a cup or something. Like you have to like keep everything on you. You have to truck it out of the desert, and then you can dump it somewhere else. But they're just, yeah, you'd have to watch the video. It's many faceted seated. That's probably not a word. That there's a lot of things to it that are very interesting. So
Yeah, I've always been fascinated with Burning Man, and just, and like actually like watching these, like this, I'm gonna watch this whole thing, but like going through it real quick on YouTube, it's like it's almost sad, because it's like you just see how much community means to people, and
yep,
like it's something that we've had but basically been on timeout for a
yep,
year. So I imagine whatever, when this opens back up and they do it again, it's gonna be bigger than it ever
yeah.
has been before.
This was 2019 Burning Man, and
Yeah.
he was saying 2020 was the first time it ever been canceled, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, since it had been there. So yeah,
Man,
very interesting.
absolutely. I'll check it out. Anton somewhere, like somewhere over the rainbow somewhere. Anton
Yep.
somewhere. Cool. I'll check it out for absolutely sure. Okay. Couple things I've been watching / playing. Mostly watching. I played a few things, but one of those things where I don't feel like I played enough to where I can actually say a lot yet. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So new TV show on Amazon Prime. It's called Invincible. May have heard of it. This is an animated series based on the comic book by Robert Kirkman. He's the he's the one who brought you the comic book, The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this is really great. I mean, it's I'm trying to say as little as possible, but I will say this: watch the first episode. Check out the first episode, and with this warning, I'll give you a warning here. The first episode's very much like, it seems almost like run of the mill. This is like kind of almost like a Justice League kind of clone. Maybe there's a kid who gets powers, but everything just changes in the last 5 minutes, and that sets the tone of what the show is. And I'll say this just to kind of warn you, because I don't want to spring this on someone and being like, oh my God. It's extremely violent, especially like the last, okay, because it really, the show springs it on you. Like going into it, I knew this was a mature thing, but I was like, okay, I mean, they're like, you know.
I'm a mature man. I can handle it.
Well, no, I mean, watching it, I'm like, okay, yeah, they're cussing here and there, but there's nothing really crazy, nothing very violent going on. And then the last 5 minutes, the show reveals what it's about. And I'm like, it's a jaw-dropping scene, which is, it's very much like, holy crap. Not only is it shocking in what it does, it's an amazing stinger of, I gotta know what that was about, how the characters are going to deal with this, and what in the world is going to happen in the show. It's fantastic in that regard, to where it's one of the best. It's like just up there with one of like the best like closing moments of a show, which shocks you, but also hooks you in, where you're like, I gotta see this through. I gotta know what's gonna happen. It's like an 8-episode series, so there's nothing really super. It's not a big investment. They only have 3 episodes out right now. It premiered this last Friday. First 3 episodes. Check it out.
What is it on?
It's on Amazon Prime. It's a Prime original. A lot of voices in this thing. A lot, not like mega stars, but like big voices, like Steven Yeun, who is Glenn in The Walking Dead. He plays the main character. And J.K. Simmons is another one of the main characters. But there's a lot of voices here and there. Seth Rogen, I think, pops up. It's good. The action's good. The character stuff is good, and there's some good comedy here as well. It's good stuff. It's not as miserable. It's not like it's violent, but it's not as miserable. Like, I like The Boys a lot, but The Boys is kind of miserable because everyone's just so terrible. It's not that kind of show. It's not one of those every superhero is a dirtbag kind of shows. No, most superheroes are good, but there's a very dark story they're telling here, but it's not miserable. I'll say that. And like The Walking Dead,
Friday.
Yep, new episode is Friday.
Fridays.
Yep, it's a thing to do, I guess.
Yep, I guess so.
Speaking of which, here's another Disney Plus show. All right, so The Mighty Ducks Game Changer.
I knew you couldn't resist.
Yeah, The Mighty Ducks, man. Probably one of the more iconic sports movies, I will say. I mean, not like not saying the best, but I'm saying like one of the most beloved sports movies. It got 3 sequels.
I could go with that.
Yeah,
I could agree with that.
Not one of the best, but it's up there as, it was a huge thing back in the 90s.
It just got a lot right.
Yeah, it's got the stuff you want. And I was really confused about this show because watching the trailer, I was like, does this take place in like an alternate universe? Because like you see Gordon Bombay, he's like, he owns an ice rink, and he's like, I hate kids, I hate hockey, and you're like, wait, is this like not a sequel? But it is a sequel. This takes place after the events of Mighty Ducks 1, 2, and 3. And so it's very much formulaic in the same kind of way. I almost get Cobra Kai vibes from it, except the kids are quite younger seeming.
I'm
Like,
sure that encouraged Disney to bring the show out too, seeing the
yeah,
success of that. Yeah.
absolutely. And it's the same kind of reboot in a way that Cobra Kai was kind of like reboot. Same character, same
Yeah.
universe. Let's see how this goes. So yeah, we got a new generation of kids who are being taken, I can only assume, under Gordon Bombay's tutelage. And so it's fine. I'm enjoying it enough. Um, I
How
will.
much returning cast did we get?
Right now, it's only Gordon Bombay. I'm not sure if Charlie or any of the other ducks are going to show up.
Charlie.
Yeah,
You got to bring back Charlie.
he's one of the bigger actors there. I don't know if he'll have Joshua Jackson will have a time to return, but maybe. I don't know. And some,
Come on, man. This is what made you.
yeah, some of them have struggled. I know the guy who played Goldberg, he suffered with addiction in a really bad way, but he's thankfully recovered from that.
He was homeless for a little bit.
Yeah, really tough, and yeah, that sucks. But who knows? I mean, he's a lot better now, so maybe he could, and maybe some of the other cast could, who actually a lot of them continued to act. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it for what it is. It's the same kind of deal. It's funny, actually. Like, some of the writing, I'm like, ha, that's funny. Elicited a actual laugh out of me, which is very much still a kids show, which obviously it should be. It's Mighty Ducks. One thing I will say,
there was a Mighty Ducks 5.
What?
D5,
No.
the Mighty Ducks.
No, surely not. Was that like a straight to home DVD thing, or
TV series?
what? Was it when the
Oh, it says it's premiering in April.
what?
Season 3 is premiering in April. Huh.
I don't understand.
That's so weird. It's weird that it's a sequel, but it's a TV show. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. But one critique I do have is that some of the kids are funny, but it's very okay, so there was a thing in the 90s. It was all about mischievous kids, right? These kids who are like really mischievous and just kind of like rascals who are just getting into trouble. That's not these kids. These are kids who are all just really good kids. They're just the nerds. They're the ones who are, not quite up to snuff to be on the school's hockey team, and they're maybe nerds or weirdos or something like that. And they're not quite good enough. And so that's a little less fun to me. I mean, like, part of the fun of the original is how mischievous the Ducks were, and that's the thing. They were like on the verge of like being like juvenile delinquents or whatever. They were like, they busted out the windshield of Gordon Bombay's windshield, and it's like, yeah, it's but still, it's fine. I don't want to talk too much about it because it's not that crazy. It's nothing like that revolutionary about it. But if you like the Mighty Ducks, maybe check it out. It's yeah, it's another premieres on Friday. It's longer than I thought it would be. I'm not sure if it's just a premiere thing because it's a series premiere, but I wasn't expecting it to go for like the 45 minutes length. I was very certain it's going to be like a 20-minute, 22-minute kind of runtime. But no, I was like, oh, shoot, this isn't over. Oh, okay. All right. But yeah, the Emilio Estevez seems to still have his chops too, which is nice to see. Alrighty. Also, lastly, shoot, I got written down. Oh, lastly, I'm going through the Godzilla movies. Kong vs. Godzilla is coming out this week. I mean, we're gonna talk about it next week, of course. But
Man,
like, I know,
can't believe it's already out.
boing, sprung up on us, didn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm checking out Godzilla, Kong, Skull Island, and Godzilla King of Monsters. I haven't seen Godzilla, the 2014 movie, since theaters. I haven't seen it. And I came away originally with a pretty negative view on that movie. And seeing it again, it's okay. I think it's all right. I think having sometimes a movie will come out and I'm like, well, this is it. This is our Godzilla movie. This is what we get. And if it's lacking in a lot of ways, it's annoying because this might be it. I don't know if there's going to be a sequel that's going to make things fill out a little bit more. And but then sometimes you go back to something and you're like, okay, now I can since I got kind of some of the stuff I wanted from another movie, I can kind of look at the merits of this movie and see what did this one do right. And
Hmm.
and as far as that goes, it's an okay Godzilla movie, but I think in times it's a pretty good disaster movie. Like some of the
Yeah.
disaster stuff they do, it's pretty good. Like some of the scenes, just little things that I'm like, this is interesting. Like for instance, there's a plane crash scene, and they won't just show a plane crash. It'll be a silent scene. You'll see the pilot come down on a parachute, and you're like, what's going on? Then you see his plane crash into a building. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's something really simple, and they made it unique. There's a lot of stuff like that in the movie, which I appreciate. Gareth Edwards, that's his name. I don't know, director of Rogue One, and yeah, he's good. He does good stuff. So yeah,
Definitely came out of that enjoying it a lot more than you did, I think, back when we saw it together.
definitely. I think
Yeah.
most people were. For some reason, I don't know. It just didn't jive with me, and I'm still not like, oh my gosh, it's amazing or anything like that. But I liked it. I came out, I'm like, this is pretty good. I enjoy this. We're gonna watch Kong Skull Island tonight. I'm looking forward to that one. That movie's ridiculous. I love it. Ridiculous.
To me, it's like you have a monster movie, so it's like, I just don't. What can you expect? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just goofy from the beginning, and so I just appreciated that Godzilla was, yeah, like you said, it looked really good, and
Yeah.
I
does
thought
look
it was perfectly interesting enough. I mean, it's Nolan's not going to make a movie like that, so it's like we're not going to get the quintessential Godzilla movie.
I wish he would. Sometimes I'm like, I wish some of these
Spielberg would put the heart in it.
Yeah, he would. He really would. He'd have you caring for Aaron Taylor. It's weird to see Aaron Taylor Johnson still with Elizabeth Olsen. You're like, oh, I like screamed when I first saw them. I was like, yes! But no,
Ugh.
not brother and sister here.
One of the most frustrating things from Marvel for me.
Oh, they got rid of Quicksilver.
Quicksilver immediately.
They dispatched him quickly.
Gosh.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about that.
We're not gonna talk about that unpleasantry. But yeah, that's what I'm watching this week. Try to play some more. I'm getting into some some other games, and update: Amber, 180 hours later, has beaten Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Jeez.
Yeah.
My God.
That being said, I mean,
game's insane.
She goes region to region and just gets everything. Like before she moves on with the story, she'll like, okay, do I have all the gold, all the wealth here? Have I done all the little mysteries or whatever? And she'll do everything. And so she's not gonna just go through the story. Like sometimes I will. Like I don't know. It always depends on how much I'm enjoying the game. I think the same's true for her, but she was enjoying the game a lot, and so. Yeah, dang. What a long game. I made a decision to go back, and before I actually dig into this and play Origins, because like just watching some of the stuff that Amber was doing, I was like looking at some of the story beats, and I was like, I don't understand this at all. And she's like, I don't either. I'm like, damn, I guess I have to play. And I heard Origins is a good place to start to understand like that. I'm like, okay, I heard that's a good one. Odyssey's a good one. I just need to bite the bullet. Yeah, bite the dust. No, I just need to go ahead and play those games. So yeah, I'm playing Origins. Anyways, enough. Let's we don't have a review or anything this week. We have some topics. How about that?
Let's do it.
It's been a while. So this broke earlier this week, or actually no, later last week, that Sony is closing down its online store for the PlayStation 3, PSP, and the Vita. I feel this is kind of shuttered a lot of people on the internet, and I think it's understandable. The PS3 and the PSP stores are officially closing on July 2nd, and the Vita store will be closing on August 22nd. The purchases that have been made from these stores can still be re-downloaded at any time, but from what I understand, you will be unable to purchase new content digitally on these consoles after the stores have closed down, as I understand it, and as they've explained, unless something dramatic changes. And vouchers can be redeemed, like if you, for some reason, have a download code for Persona 4 Golden on your Vita, you can still redeem that after the store is closed, but you cannot go on the store and search for Tearaway and download if you don't already own it. So Yeah,
I
thoughts on
think
this, Lee?
my my hot take would be just that, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, it's the fate of all digital stores, isn't it? Especially when it's tied to a platform that then gets replaced by another platform. That's what I think makes it so nice for like Apple. They created an app store and all iPhones of any generation connect to it, and that's just how you use things. And yeah, I guess I didn't understand that it wasn't that way with Sony. So I think it makes perfectly good sense that, for consoles that are pretty long in the tooth at this point, especially a PlayStation 3. I don't know how long Vita was really big. I know the Vita, the change from PS4 to PSP to Vita was quite a while ago. So I don't know when the last Vita actually was released, but probably a while ago. So yeah, it's just like, this hasn't happened already.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. If for certain games, and if you're like a game like someone who really just values some older games, and there's something maybe that you were looking at the time and you haven't bought, go ahead and buy it. Because I think the truth is there's a lot of games now that if you can no longer buy them from the store, you cannot get them, because there are a lot of games that do not have a physical release. There are certain games that if you
You can't find them ROMmed somewhere.
PS3 is an infamously very difficult console to emulate. I think even Sony it might be having trouble doing it. So the emulation for the PlayStation 3 is not there at all. PSP, yes. Vita, no, not yet.
I guess my thought is like I appreciate the fact that people want to be able to play games
mm,
forever. And I appreciate that. And I think there should be a method in which that can happen. But at the same time, I do want I do feel like there's a certain point at which it's like if a game is stuck on I don't know. If a game is stuck on like Xbox or something, like the original Xbox, which it's not, but I'm just saying let's say it is because it was well no, it would be 360 and PS3, right? So that would be Xbox and PS2. But anyways, my point is just how many games on that system are really important enough? How many people are out there trying to play an old game like that? I don't want companies to spend too much effort. If we're talking about Xbox One, PlayStation 4, like that needs to be supported. You need to be able to play those old games on your new
yeah,
consoles. To me, that's a huge deal. But
yeah,
when you get back to like 360, it's like, yeah, that's nice. And then you get back to Xbox, it's like, that's neat, but I don't really, there's very few games I want to go back and actually play the original Xbox release. Like, if a game was good enough that you really want to play like that, it's going to be re-released as a remaster, and it's going to be awesome. And if it's not, I'm sorry, there's too many games out there. Move on. Like that's just the reality of it. And I don't want I don't want these companies. What I'm trying to say is I don't want these companies to spend too much effort on something like this when there's a lot of things they need to get right in the present generation and and issues that need to be fixed now. So
yeah. And I definitely see that, and I think like for where I'm at with Sony is because I see how Microsoft does it, and it's very much why can't you please just do that? Like I would love it if I was able to turn on my PlayStation 5 and I see my PlayStation 4 games and my PlayStation 3 games. Because there's games, guess what? I want to play that I feel like are trapped on my PlayStation 3. Like games
really,
like that. Games that it's like the best way to play Marvel vs. Capcom 2, a game that I have huge affinity for and is trapped on that console in that digital form. I mean, obviously there's other less convenient ways to play Marvel's Capcom 2 if I want to like whip out like a a Dreamcast or play it on Steam or something like that. Sure, that's there. But guess what? I already bought it. And so it's one of those things
yeah.
where it's like, ah, man. But yeah, thankfully, I think like one of the big things that people were looking at is, are these games still downloadable or are they lost? Like, because there's infamously very limited space on your PlayStation 3. So if you had an extensive PlayStation 3 library of digital games and that was the case and you couldn't re-download those games, bye to most of your library. So, I mean, this being said,
That's what I
definitely
was
get
saying.
it.
What's so frustrating is that they have a separate store for PlayStation 3. That's the most
Yes.
frustrating thing about the whole thing. Is like, why can't this just be like Apple? Like, why can't a game just live on the Sony PlayStation Store?
Yeah.
Why can't, I mean, I don't even think Microsoft does that. And there's, excuse me, I've gone on there and looked, and there's some games available, and then some games it's just it has a little thing that says it's unavailable. Like you can search, but yeah, I don't understand why digital things can't just be available on a store. Like simple as that. Like if I walked into a game store, like I'm not gonna have to go through multiple doors to get to a different generation of games. Like it's just in the games area. Like it's as simple as that. And it should be that simple with digital good. It should be much more simple with digital goods. It's the internet, man. Like come on.
Yeah, I mean,
What are you doing, bro?
and like I feel like
What I
a
say to
lot,
PlayStation.
absolutely, all this is possible. What I hope, my hope is that they make emulation on the PlayStation 5 a possibility. It's just if
it's because the PlayStation 3 is so hard to emulate, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. We've had the conversation before. I couldn't agree with you more. Xbox does a lot right, and I think Sony doesn't do a lot right. But I can understand if it's a technological thing, it's just a technological thing. Like maybe they designed the chip in a way. I remember the PlayStation 3. I remember the big press release and how original that was, and it was going to be able to predictively, tell you what you're going to do and then counteract that with AI or whatever, But I think a lot of that was baloney. But the simple fact of the matter is they probably tried to do a lot, so there was a lot more quote unquote hoops that had to be jumped through to get a game running because of that cell architecture. So it could be just a technological thing. I know it was hard for Microsoft. It took a lot of work for them to emulate those games, and so it's like I want to cut them a little slack in that way. But the store thing, it's just ridiculous. Like why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't there been a team on this for years now, making sure that the store is organized in a way where you want a PS3 game, just go to the PS3 tab. You want a PS2 game, go to the PS2 tab. Like it's the same thing for Nintendo. Every single console manufacturer should have every single game they've ever made or have the rights to sell on their store organized in a way where you can buy whatever you want. And there's no excuse for it because people are trying to pay you money to play your games. Unless it's a licensing issue, I don't see how there's any excuse for that.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Microsoft. I do not believe that every game is available right now. Now, if you're working on it, then okay, that's fine. But I also understand that a lot of the emulation on Xbox, you have to put your disc in to play it. And that's also a frustrating thing.
Yeah. What if you have the Xbox also One S? Gone, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Strange.
It's also frustrating that we've talked about this before, that you can't just put your disc in and then have a digital copy. That's,
nom.
We're not going to get
spit it out. Disk drive eats it, turns it into digital copy, spits it out into pieces.
It should just make a digital record in the internet that this code has now been converted into digital. If this disc is inserted, it cannot be played. That is not hard. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we're talking about burning CDs, right? Well, how about ripping CDs? Remember that? Is when you put your disc in and it says, and it takes the songs and it puts it in digital copies onto your computer. That was a thing.
And people were ripping games too.
Yeah, they were.
Everything.
PC games.
Ripping software. Ripping Photoshop.
Ripping and ripping and ripping.
You got to rip so you can burn, as they say.
I would love to put my copy of Final Fantasy 13 into my PlayStation 5 and it goes nom 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 and just rips it, and I'm like, oh, we understand that you have PlayStation Final Fantasy 13 for PS3. Now it's here. That would be amazing. But
congratulations,
congratulations. Oh, there's the remnants of your disc.
I can't believe we talked this long about this.
Yeah,
get it together, Sony.
Get it together. I agree with you in ways. Also another thing is, yeah, booting up the PlayStation 3 is not something that I like doing. That's why I'm like, just put it on the PlayStation 5 so I can get
Oh
rid of
yeah.
this thing. Because booting up the 360, it's like,
Oh yeah.
oh, and same thing with PS3. It's
Even the One now feels that way.
right.
It's like, how long does this console take to boot up?
It happens quick, and then you can imagine 2 generations ago, and
I
it.
love the sound of that fan where it's like, oh, it's like, oh boy.
Jet engine, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you don't need to start up today.
Yeah, maybe not. But yeah, and honestly, I've been on the PlayStation Store on the PlayStation 3 a few months ago. There was a game I was like, "Do I have DMC?" And I actually went on the store and I was like, "Oh yeah, I do own DMC." And I downloaded it and it was that store is the slowest thing I've encountered in a long time. It is just getting page to page on that store is it is yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, very interesting. I think this is the first out of like the digital age of video games, because before this it wasn't really much of a thing. And so now this is like the first closing of a store, I think. And I could be wrong. Maybe the Wii eShop on the Wii closed as well, but I don't remember. But
Yeah.
anyways, that is that. What else we got here?
Jordan, movies are back.
Movies are back. Yeah, Regal's
Or as they
opening up.
said, what, months ago?
Yeah, movies are
Big
back.
movies are back on the
Oh
screen.
my god, did they say that?
Almost.
Yeah, with Tenet.
We tried.
We definitely tried. Yeah.
Hey, I got to see that twice in theaters, so I'm happy.
Hey.
I'm glad I got my Nolan in, at least while we could.
And I got to see New Mutant, so there's that.
That's true. There is that awful fact you did.
Yeah, there is. But yeah, I mean, theaters are opening up all over. One of the biggest hurdles for movies was to open up in New York and in Los Angeles, and that has since happened. And our local theater is Regal Cinemas. That's the second largest chain of movie theaters in the world, and now they have announced that they are opening their theaters as well. And so, yeah, here we go. I mean, there's something.
The head of Regal says, "Cinema live forever."
Oh,
Because they're on the verge of a major comeback.
all right.
So he's very optimistic. So
Those are some very confident words for sure.
that's good.
Yeah. Our theater, Luke, officially opens not this week, not next week, the week after is when our Regal theater opens. At least one of them, the big one at Celebration Point. That theater is going to open up. I believe that's the 19th. I think I was looking at the dates as they were releasing them. Yeah. The night. Nope, I'm wrong. 16th of April is when is when our theater in town opens.
3 weeks.
So yeah, I mean, there's some movies that it's like, for me, seeing the movies in theater isn't only my favorite way to view movies, but it's also the most efficient way for me. I invest in Regal Unlimited, which is their subscription service.
Especially with the $30 fee to see a brand new movie.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You don't have to see many movies in theaters with a unlimited to make up for that.
Exactly. So these smaller movies that come out, and I'm like, oh, I want to see this, I want to see that, I want to see that. Yeah, paying $20 each of them, obviously.
Or I want to see it twice.
Yeah.
Right?
That stacks up. And so we've gotten in the habit and of the expectation of this is how we consume movies. We see them often. We're not like
and
most
we have
people.
a beautiful new theater too, so that definitely helps with the RPX if you really are feeling a movie.
Really feeling it.
Yeah,
and it's nice.
That theater's so nice. So
yeah,
I miss it.
Recliners, little table if you want.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And
beautiful place outside of the theater too.
Yeah. And okay, so I haven't looked too much into this. There's some sort of exclusivity deal that Regal has struck.
Oh man,
with
this is
WB.
a cluster, man.
Yeah,
like with all these different companies, this is a cluster. This is crazy.
I don't like this. Personally,
no.
Any exclusivity with a theater
feel
chain?
like it just feels like the theaters are bound to get screwed here, at least for a little while. Maybe some nice deals will work out, but I mean, these streaming companies, or companies that didn't used to be streaming and now are,
Yeah.
like HBO, which became Max during the quarantine, and then so many exclusive obviously are coming this year. It feels weird now, like seeing the place that we're headed this year, to know that WB is going to be doing this for the rest of the year.
I know. It's very
It
strange.
feels very strange that that's going to be happening. I don't know. We really said, is this a great decision for WB? Time will tell, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's awesome for consumers, but yeah, it's certainly going to hurt the theaters, and I think it's probably going to hurt WB in the long run. It's just, if you can get even a small percentage of, theater goers, you're going to make a lot more money than you would just off subscription services. It's just, there's no way that math doesn't add up. So,
yeah. I imagine this might be something we see for the rest of the year, not only for WB, but for Disney Plus. I mean, they announced that their Cruella and Black Widow will be released day and date on Disney Plus, same day as theater, but obviously with the premium upcharge.
Yeah,
that you'll
and in that article, it was saying the CEO of Cineworld, which owns Regal, was saying, basically, we'll see. I don't know. There was some talk of like, we could not show these movies to kind of, as like moving a pawn, against Disney. It's, I don't know. It's a tough situation for the theaters, and it's also a tough situation for Disney. It's like you're both in a precarious situation where you don't have all the theaters opened up. Now, obviously, you won't have all the theaters opened up probably for a long time. There's probably going to be a lot of cities or municipalities that don't allow that. And, I imagine places like New York, California, it's going to be a long time before they're going to allow theaters to open up, or at least a large amount of theaters, or at least if they are open, it's going to be a tiny, percent of the capacity. And then, of course, there's the whole thing where how many people are going to come. So,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't like all these, as you say, moving upon all that stuff. I mean, like exclusivity deals with theaters, that doesn't sit right to me. I mean, because for instance, we are in our city, we have Regal only. So that like whatever deal our city has with Regal, that's all we have. We have 3 theaters and they're all Regal. So
so weird.
Yeah, so if WB is going to make a deal with Regal and Disney turns around and makes a deal with AMC, that's not good for me. So it's you.
I know.
I'm looking at it.
I've hated that Regal thing, exclusivity in town. I've always hated it. It's like, how did we come to this place? People have tried. It's just hard to beat a company that's so big.
Yeah, that has such a
and like you said, it screws us in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
we don't have an IMAX because Regal doesn't have those licenses. Yeah. Much as I like RPX, it would be cool to be able to see IMAX. IMAX is definitely something special.
Yeah, it doesn't really compare all too much. Yeah, it's interesting to see what's going to happen. I just hope people have as many options as possible. It's like if you're vulnerable, I think it is nice that you have some options to see them at home, at least for until like maybe the end of the year or so. But yeah, theaters are going to also have to do what's best for them, but I also hope they do what's best for us too, with the whole, well, we'll see, maybe we won't play Black Widow maybe you don't want to, like, if you don't have Disney Plus and you're a Marvel fan,
nasty with each other.
Yeah, maybe you don't want to spend $38 to watch Black Widow if you don't already have Disney Plus. That's how much you're looking at, and that's holy crap. Especially like a movie like Cruella, which I don't even know if I want to see at all, but yeah, what?
Yeah. Certainly don't want to see it at a premium subscription level, but
no,
I do want to see it. I'll be honest.
Yeah, that's fine. It's fine. And I hear there's a lot of people who are upset at certain decisions that are being made. People, from what I've heard, there's some rumblings over at Pixar, how they're like, okay, so their movies are getting just put on Disney Plus proper. Straight away.
They don't like that because they are freaking
yeah,
they are the kings of the box office.
Yeah, so
especially when it comes to family films.
Absolutely. And Soul was put on there Christmas Day, and now Luca is being put on there day and date for free. And so,
yep.
I mean, again,
and especially families, like that choice is pretty easy. I know now, being a
Oh
dad,
yeah.
it's pretty easy. Like, I'm not at a point where my child is demanding to go see the new Pixar, but
Yeah.
one day he probably will be. He
Uh-huh.
probably will be. Um, it may not be Pixar, but I'm sure like kids love their animated movies, so I can see him being like, I saw the trailer pop, we gotta go.
Yeah.
And if it's streaming, I'm just gonna be like, sure, we'll turn it on tonight.
Yeah.
Instead of going and buying the popcorn and dealing with him whining and all the things that come with being a parent.
Oh yeah.
So
Absolutely. And
yeah,
honestly, I think
I'm sure
options are
Pixar's
good.
hot.
Oh yeah. I think as we said, we've had long discussions about this, and like when HBO Max did the deal, we've had an entire episode about it. Go back and listen. But like, yeah, what the future of movies are going to look like, I don't know. They could be changed forever. I am confident that theaters will stick around, I think, but there might be a lot of different options now. We'll see. I don't
Yeah.
know. Or it
I
could.
think things will settle over, the next year.
Yeah.
There's going to be a certain, if theaters have success, then movies will stop streaming exclusively on, or they'll stop doing the day and date stuff, because everyone makes more money when movies go to theaters. I think that's just reality.
Yep.
So I think it just depends on the success of the theaters. If the people come back, the movies will come back to the theaters. If the people don't come back, then everything's headed to streaming and the movie companies are going to close. I think
Yeah.
that's the simple math of this equation.
All right. Well, time shall tell, and we'll see what happens in the future. All right. Lastly, one little quick thing. I never really have too much to say about trailers. I'm not the kind of person
Yeah.
who like goes and breaks down a trailer frame by
Yeah.
frame or anything like that. But I like to comment on it just to kind of see how we're feeling about a movie based on its first trailer.
There's just such an interesting story surrounding this whole thing too.
Yeah.
Like, is it a sequel? It's just it's an
Yeah.
interesting idea. Sorry, I interrupted you, but
No, that's exactly kind of what I want to talk about going into this. It's obviously was a lot of confusion going into it, as you said. Like, is it a sequel? Like,
yeah.
the Suicide Squad? What? The whole add a
Yeah.
the to the title.
It's such an interesting thing when, it was a big deal. It was a AAA movie. It was the Suicide Squad is coming out, and then it came out, and it kind of landed with a thud. Honestly, it just wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, we hated it, but I think like just the general audience didn't really like it. There's movies that do well in pop culture, but more fans like us of comic books and superheroes maybe don't like it as much. But that wasn't this movie. This movie was just not good all around.
Yeah, another troubled production where the director David Ayer is very much saying that is not my movie that I made. My movie is on the cutting room floor, and it's sad to hear, but we're
Yeah.
probably never going to get the David Ayer cut, unfortunately. But yeah,
I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a cut could change that.
Yeah, I know
Suicide
what you
Squad.
mean.
It was obvious that thing was like a Frankenstein's beast, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Suicide Squad didn't look as much of that. It just
Mhm.
kind of was like, I wouldn't like this character the way you did it, no matter how you did it.
Yeah, Joker. I mean, that's the big one for me.
Yeah, I didn't like, what's her name, the witch.
Enchantress.
Enchantress. Yeah, I was trying to think of that word. It's like not a witch, but something like that. Yeah, I didn't like her at all. So, anyways, it's just an interesting surrounding this whole trailer in general, because here's James Gunn. He did the impossible. He made a talking raccoon the talk of the world for a little while, and
Yeah.
then a beloved character in the Marvel universe. So, can he do the same thing with a shark? That's the big question.
You will believe a shark can talk.
see if Mr. Sly can make a shark lovable.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, you know how lovable one can be while gnawing on human skulls and ripping people in half.
He was Rocky, man.
Yeah,
He was Rocky, so he
it's
can
true.
do anything.
What'd you think of the trailer? It's a Red Band trailer. Another,
It was. It was very interesting. It reminded me a lot of Suicide Squad. Just
Mhm.
it felt like an R-rated version of Suicide Squad set in a different world, set in the DC universe. That's what it felt like. It was very much, this is James Gunn doing what James Gunn does. He has a interesting mind that takes movies in a different direction than other directors would take it. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like it. It felt different. It felt like whether or not the movie works, we'll see. I would say it seems like James Gunn has learned enough over the years that he knows how to make a good movie at this point. If we go back to Slither, he didn't know how to make a good movie at that point. And, it takes some trial and error sometimes, especially for some directors. They get in their groove.
Yeah.
And I think James Gunn has gotten to that point. He's evolved himself to know what works and what doesn't work, especially for a general audience, because he's helmed enough movies now that have gotten the big budget and, had the big, poster in Times Square, and they had the whole treatment. So yeah, it looks like what I expected, basically.
I'd say so too. I think it looks exactly what I thought when I heard James Gunn, Suicide Squad, hear all these characters. Like it's exactly kind of what I thought.
Yep.
Seeing it, and that's a good thing. I think I had positive, reception to the news about him directing, and then the trailer was kind of just confirmation of that. Okay, good. This is pretty much what I hoped we would get, and it's exactly what I thought we'd get. So good.
Isn't it crazy to think that he was working on this? He was supposed to have released Guardians of the Galaxy 3 before Endgame.
Wow.
And now we're here, so far removed from Endgame, and we don't even know when Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is coming out.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes me worried so much. I want that third movie to come out so bad. That's just great movies. So it from what I understood in the interview, it was like, I'll get to it when I finish Suicide Squad. I don't know where they are at this point with it.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that movie's linked to another, is Thor: Love and Thunder, because of where those characters are at. And so there's a few things that I'm sure maybe were retooled completely. Maybe. I mean, I know that James Gunn has said that he read and they were working together with Taika Waititi and James Gunn, who were directing it, to be like, guys, yeah, let's make sure that we're teaming up to, make sure our characters are at the right spots and our stories make sense, because they're going to be together or whatever through certain points in the timeline. So, but anyways, Suicide Squad, I feel like, I think this is kind of what I wanted Suicide Squad to be, because what we got was, I think, really silly when it came to the Suicide Squad. Gone is the whole, seemingly at least, the whole, you guys are my friends and I'm not losing another family, stuff like that, when they're hanging out and loving each other or whatever towards the end. No. That's something I think they improved upon greatly with the Harley Quinn movie and this. No, these are bad guys. Let them be bad guys. I think there was a Q&A with James Gunn, and he was asked, who's the villain in the Suicide Squad? And he said, they're all the villains. I'm like, yeah, perfect. Exactly. They're all bad people. And
it's called the Suicide Squad. Just stick with that premise.
Don't try to turn them into a Fast and Furious family or anything like that.
Or even a Guardians of the Galaxy. It's not that.
Yeah, they're not anti-heroes. These are bad people. And so I'm fine with this kind of edge that it has to them, and we're watching them flat out murder people. That's kind of how it is. And and I'm sure a lot of they will also die themselves. A lot of them, I'm sure, get exploded. But yeah, cool stuff. It very is sorry to talk about the whole sequel aspect to it. It's almost maybe a soft reboot. I don't know, because it's the same universe. Obviously, we have a lot of the same characters played by the same actors. Yeah,
but only some of them. It's strange.
Yeah, some of the characters just didn't return. Deadshot is not back. We have
that was Will Smith, right?
That was Will Smith.
Yeah,
and so that character's gone. Who else was in that freaking original one? I think most other one, everyone else.
Oh, Enchantress, right?
Enchantress, yeah, she's gone. But Rick Flag's here, who was very much linked to
Rick Flag.
Yeah, Rick Flag.
I don't think enough people watch that show to know. Yeah.
And Captain Boomerang, he's here.
He's been in so much.
Oh yeah, it was Joel Kinnaman? Yeah, I think that's it. The guy who's Rick Flag, and then obviously am I right on that?
I don't think you are. I was actually about to look that up. I don't think that's Rick Flag. He just looks like him.
Am I screwing up here? Let's see. We're the IMDb, because we're looking up the Suicide Squad. All right, so yeah, Joel Kinnaman. Yep, he's Rick Flag, and we got John Cena as the Peacemaker. Oh boy, Michael Rooker's here with long, white, scraggly hair. I don't know who Nathan Fillion's playing, and yeah, Jai Courtney is Captain Boomerang. And Pete Davidson's here as the bodyguard. Wow, yeah, what a cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's very interesting to have that soft reboot thing where like there's some characters here that you know, but
I'm sorry, I forgot. I was thinking Mr. Flag in the CBS show. When you said Rick Flag, I forgot that that's the name of the character in the show. That's what I was confused about. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. Rick Flair, as I think is what I meant to say.
No, you were right. Rick Flag. Yeah. What's the guy's name? It's Mr. Flag.
Randall Flagg.
Randall Flagg. Yeah. That's
yep.
Right. So close.
Very close.
An R Flag.
Yeah, it's not a. What's his face?
Yeah, they look similar though. They really do.
They do have a similar look for sure. Don't see him very often. He was obviously he was RoboCop, right, in the remake. Fantastic, and of course, yeah, as you mentioned, Sly Stallone as King Shark, the voice of King Shark.
Completely unrecognizable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't even his like line deliveries. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that is him.
Yeah.
But very vaguely. Apparently, they're going to be fighting a giant starfish at a certain point with Starro, something like that. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this movie, but it's going to be a fun, wacky, and raunchy ride.
They have a kaiju.
Yeah, they have a kaiju. But yeah, I thought we'd check in on that. Also, Black Adam. There's been some promotion for that. They did like a release date drop.
The Rock finally got his wish.
Oh my gosh.
Chopping at the bit for this for so long.
No kidding. They're promoting it in such a way that I've never seen as like such a star vehicle thing for him. Like there's something that just dropped today. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like him like narrating kind of the premise sort of, or like the setup to Black Adam, like over a bunch of concept art. And he's just talking about my characters. And I've never seen anything like that. It's very much a rock vehicle for sure, but hey, this could be really cool. But yeah, it's coming out in July next year, so we've got a long time to freaking wait for that one. So weird to have them talk about it now in this way. I guess it's just been such a long time coming. I feel like they had to say something, I guess, but weird. But anyways, the Suicide Squad, here it comes. Another one, by the way, HBO Max, straight away, day and date.
This and The Matrix got to be the two big ones for this year for me.
Dune as well. Dune's going to be a big one.
I'm definitely excited for Dune, but that's more of an unknown thing.
Yeah, very much.
We'll see how good that is.
I am reading the book now of Dune. It's I'm not going to lie, Dune is a tough read. It's a little bit of a hard read because the author doesn't really give a crap about you as far as like introducing a million different like phrases and weird words and titles and planets and like so many. Like often I'm going to the Wikipedia like, what is that? Is that a name? Oh, okay, it's a planet. Oops. And so there's a lot. I am very interested in how the theatrical version of this would be. Obviously this is it's happened before, but I haven't seen it. But
I watched like 20 minutes in and I was like, I want to experience this for the first time. I don't want to watch the old one. I think I'm going to watch the new one, then I'm going to go back and watch the old one and then compare. Yeah, I just started watching and I was like, I don't want to know what's going to happen in this new movie. I think I'll have a lot more fun not knowing. And, I'm going to know what's going to happen in the first 20 minutes and a lot does happen. So it's very interesting for sure. It feels very original. It really does.
Oh yeah. There's so much there. There's so much lore. And I'm looking forward to finishing the book and looking forward to the movie. But anyways, I think that about does it. I'm just rambling at this point.
I gotta get.
Next week, Kong versus Godzilla.
Yep.
We'll be here and
We'll be
talk
here.
about the whole thing. All right,
That's right.
guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, listener. See ya.
Bye. Oops. Period. I did not mean to end the meeting. Period. See you this Friday, man. Exclamation mark.